Welcome to Rail Fans. I'm Shane Sege. Join us as we discover Ottawa's O train and Montreal's metro system together. Welcome to Rail Fans Canada. I'm Shane Sege. Today we're going to be taking a look at Stage 2 LRT progress, and we're going to follow the update that the City of Ottawa presented a few weeks ago about Stage 2 LRT extending east to Orleans and Trim Station, west to Moodie and Algonquin Station, and south to Limebank and the Ottawa International Airport. So let's get started. We're going to start off by taking a look at the O train east extension. And first off is a picture. Obviously these pictures were from a few weeks ago or previous month and all that, but definitely a lot of drone shots and aerial pictures so you can really get a good idea of what's going on. So in this picture in particular, at the bottom here, you see the rail flyover that allows the train to transition from where the old transitway road was and pass into the median of the Highway 174. And obviously, the highway was moved out of the way for nearly a year or so. To the left, you can kind of see the remnants of it where it had been temporarily to allow for this structure to be built, and it's really impressive. I love how it really just passes right over the highway. It's going to be very impressive to see trains going over, whether you're in a car or even riding the train, seeing down to the cars passing underneath. It's really a piece of really interesting architecture and very interesting attribute of the east extension. In the foreground, or the background I should say, you can see the old transitway overpass. At the time of doing this video now, this was actually removed a week prior during a whole closure of the highway to allow them to demolish that structure. And the reason why that structure is being demolished is because, one, it's no longer going to be used for buses or for any road vehicle. But two, you can see that the approach to this rail flyover comes very close to where that transitway bridge approach is. So to be able to properly grade the ground, to be able to have the space and clearance to be able to do this properly, it's important that that gets removed. And there's not going to be any further use for it, so the time was now to remove it rather than trying to remove that later on with train on one side, highway on the other. Creates even more complexity. So that's been removed. We're probably going to see that berm on the left there from the transitway overpass get removed in the near future as well. And the one on the right there for the rail flyover is probably going to get reshaped and sculpted, let's say, into its proper configuration to allow for the rail alignment to pass over. So definitely very interesting there. Here's a further shot, probably very close to where the transitway approach was before it would fly over the highway to go eastbound. And as you can see, it's really coming along here. It's going to come really close to the Costco parking. So for people that want to get photos of this area nearby, the Costco or the track and soccer field there just behind Gloucester High School is definitely another area you can go and take a look. So moving further east from there, you can see in the distance the rail flyover passing into the median. And now we can see Montreal Station. Montreal Station is unique in the sense that it's going to be, they're saying it's elevated. Really, it's going to be part of the highway overpass. You're going to enter and exit from underneath the overpass on both sides. It's actually going to be quite interesting. And you can see the concrete structure here already quite extensively in place. Obviously, this picture is a little out of date because now you can drive by and you can see that there's a steel structure, quite a decent amount of it actually going up for, the elevators, for the canopies and the overhang for the station. So this picture is definitely on the outdated side because there's definitely been a lot of advancements since the time of this picture. But yeah, just driving by there, you can see a lot of progress. The concrete, or not the concrete, but the steel structure going up all around there at both ends for the elevators and the pits there. Very impressive. Now, obviously, not necessarily related to the rail, but part of the project all the same, there's going to be a multi-use pathway that's going to be extending all the way pretty much from around Blair all the way to Jeanne and you know, beyond for the most part, whether you use existing or different connections that'll be made available. But here is Greens Creek, and you can see two abutments on both sides. There's going to be a pedestrian multi-use pathway bridge that's going to be built over here to allow people to pass over Greens Creek and create like this really new cycling or walking connection. I don't know if anybody's going to really walk from Montreal road all the way to Jeanne d'Arc, because that's a decent amount of walking, and there's really nothing or no real points of interest, let's say, in between there. So it's probably going to be predominantly bikes that we're going to see going back and forth there. But that's a great connection, because previously people that wanted to go downtown either for work or just for fun commuting, really the main way that they would do it was to take the Rockcliffe Parkway or the Aviation Parkway, and really loop around from there. And that can be a bit of a long way. It's a little more secluded sometimes. So this year is going to be a nice new way. If you want to get to Blair or whatnot, it's definitely a different way of getting there or going even beyond. So a lot of potential from this. So very exciting and happy to see this. Now we're going to continue on to the next station, which is Jeanne d'Arc. This one is pretty much the first one that was really seeing a lot of significant construction, especially over the last year's time. I think it was the first really to start having a station structure start being built. And as you can see, it's already quite extensive. This aerial shot, you can see the stations underneath the Jeanne d'Arc overpass, right in the median of the 174. You can see the concrete and steel going up. There's even more now than there is in this picture. When you drive by there, it's very impressive. Platforms on both sides. It's going to be or I should say it's a center platform station with track on both sides, which will be repeated at the following stations all the way to the terminus in the east. Very impressive, very interesting to see. It's going to be very exciting once the station's done. The other thing too from Jeanne d'Arc, this is the opposite angle. Right now we're looking in the direction of westbound direction towards Montreal and beyond. And you can see that they already have the concrete, let's say, jersey barriers on both sides approaching the station. The segment between Montreal to Jeanne d'Arc, there's a lot of it that already has rail installed, which is very exciting to see. There's also the concrete barrier as well as the black chain link fence, let's say, that's being installed on top of there to separate the highway from the LRT guideway. So lots of progress happening around here. Very exciting. East is really looking good in all respects. And then here further east to Orleans Boulevard Station, which was renamed to Convent Glen Station, but that's Orleans Boulevard overpass right above. This station's seen a little less progress compared to most of the others in the east, but things are starting to pick up. You can see foundation work. Again, picture's a little bit out of date. There's more foundation, more concrete, a little bit of steel that's already starting to go up. But same idea, the entrances are going to be connecting right to the top of the overpass. Platforms in the middle and train operating on both sides between the platform and the highway lanes. Next up, Place d'Orléans Station. That's one of my favorites. You can see here a lot of work has been going on. From what we learned at the quarterly update, what you can see here is the station. And in the foreground, the red pedestrian walkway from the existing OC Transpo overpass that goes to the parking right on the left and the Place d'Orléans Station on the right. There's going to be a second overpass that's going to be built. You can see the sort of the foundations or the pillars being built behind the red pedestrian overpass. So on the right side there, just right around here, you can see it. It's going to be passing from the station building off into the middle here approximately. And what that is going to enable is a fare-free connection zone. So once you're already at the O train, you can connect to the bus platforms without having to go through any gates and whatnot. Of course, the existing red overpass is going to remain. There'll be a connection into it as well to allow you to get to the shopping center or to the park and ride. Whoops, on the other side. This building down here is actually going to be a supervisor and equipment area. That's not actually, it's part of the station, but it's not going to be an area that passengers will be going to. So the station really is from here extending underneath this way. There'll be an entrance up here in Champlain, main entrance in the overhead walkways here and into the red pedestrian crossing that's already existing. So lots of interesting things are going to happen around here, and we should see the new pedestrian connection that'll go from the median to the Place Royale stations on the right in the next month or two is what they were saying. So I'm not sure how time-wise that's looking, but that seems to be fairly soon. I can't really comment based on this picture or other pictures, or even haven't gone to the site to really say if that's still going to happen or not. But that's what they're saying in the next month or two, potentially, probably in June or July. So something definitely to keep an eye out for. And this right here is a picture they shared again. This is showing the installed rail, the ties that are going down the highway between Jeanne d'Arc and Montreal. You can see the beginnings of the red chain link fence on the right there. It's quite extensive now. It extends several kilometers on both sides. So again, a little out of date, this picture, but you can definitely see the work that's being done around here. Obviously, these rails aren't in their final configuration. They haven't been completely adjusted yet. Obviously, there's no ballast. That's the rock that goes in between that helps hold and lock them down even more solid into the ground and where they're resting. So, if you see some slight crookedness to the rails right now, it's nothing to worry about. They haven't been settled, adjusted in any form at this point. And that's one of the machines installing the ties. And the way they explained it is that the machine actually can pick up several ties at once and lay them down as one unit. Rather than picking up one tie and placing it, another tie and placing it, it can pick up, several at once. So it definitely speeds up installation. It allows more precision. So it's really interesting that they have really cool construction equipment to be able to facilitate this project. So next picture again, this is probably, I'm not exactly sure where this one is, but I believe it's Montreal Station. And you can see how they're installing rail. Obviously, the way the rail is installed at the station, it's direct fixation. So right into the concrete rather than on ties themselves. So it's why you don't see any rail ties underneath here. It's a different form of installing them and connecting them to secure them, lock them down. So what you can see here is Trim Station, which is the terminus and the last station on the east extension. You can see Trim Road at the far top right. That was realigned from pretty much the middle right of the screen because the station is going where the old intersection used to be. So they obviously had to extend Trim Road out and loop it around. The station doesn't see quite as much progress, but there was a lot of enabling actions that needed to take place. Again, the aforementioned realignment and moving of Trim Road and the intersection, as well as some hydro lines. They had to prepare the park and ride to allow for the pedestrian connection overpass to go between the station and the bus platform and the park and ride. They also mentioned at the update that there is still a possibility of, and they're trying to make sure that that's protected so that that can happen, whether it happens now or it happens later on, a connection between the median to the north side. So to be able to get to Petrie Island, to be able to get to the Bridgehill, Petrie's Landing, and all the other communities that are sort of springing up around there, as well as the La Cité Collégiale campus that's on that side of the highway as well. So rather than having to exit the station, cross over, walk through the park and ride to get to the trim road intersection to then loop around. Like that's a massive detour that's not really realistic. So I would expect that something will happen in the next year or so. I would think, or and at least hope, to allow for the connection to be made to the north side as well. I'm betting we're going to hear something about that at some point, because it doesn't make sense that isn't there, and apparently there is a lot of interest to have it go there from the developers and from residents in the community. So I'm sure that something will budge on that. So definitely to keep an eye on that. So that's pretty much it for the east. Now we're going to go to the west. Again, it goes to Moodie and Algonquin. So first up, we're already jumping ahead to Dominion Station. That's going to be renamed Kitchissippi. What we don't see here is Westboro, which is still in operation for at least another couple months. What's going to happen to enable this area of the project to advance is the transitway between Tunney's Pasture and Dominion, which is going to be renamed Kitchissippi, is going to be detoured and shut down. The buses are going to be operating on Scott Street. So what happens here is the buses will have to transition from Scott and Workman over this new temporary crossing that they built over the transitway trench to then be able to rejoin the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway. So that's what you see here. Underneath and just beyond is where the Kitchissippi station is going to be built. And then from there, the trains are going to do like a turn to the left, and they're going to slowly dive down into the cut and cover tunnel that you can see here that goes along the SGM Parkway. And that was a big undertaking to build. You can see it continue on there, heading towards Richmond Road at Byron. This is where it's going to transition into the Byron Linear Park, which unfortunately had to be ripped up to work on this project, but it's going to be restored at a later date. So as you can see right here, this is Richmond Road. That's Byron in the middle there, where you can see the green construction hoardings in the background. And what we see here is a lot of the excavation, the reinforcing of the walls. I would assume at some point in the relative near future, we'll see some closures around this area to allow for the excavation under the road and that intersection. They'll probably deck it over like they did at Woodruff and Richmond Road with those steel panels to allow for cars to continue passing on top, pedestrians, cyclists, the community at large to be able to continue to circulate around there while they work on completing the tunnel underneath and creating the final finish and the enclosure for it. So I'm assuming we'll see something like that develop in the relative near future around here. And then once you do transition into the Byron Linear Park, obviously it's not much of a park right now. It's an open air trench being built, cut and cover. So what that means is they dig down, build the tunnel, and then cover it over afterwards. Rather than tunneling underneath, you open it up like a trench, build your tunnel, build your structure, everything, close it off on top, the cover, and then they're going to restore it with grass, trees. There's going to be some new pathways that are going to be built on top there, but they're going to loop around where the stations are. The stations are going to be open air. So what that means is you're going to get to the station, you're going to see the station entrance, but it's going to be open to look down to see the train. So when you're down there in the station waiting for your train, you'll be able to look up and see, for the most part, I would assume, the blue skies or the clouds or the rain above you. But it's going to be open. It's good for fresh air. I know there's a lot of criticism with that design plan, that why wasn't it just covered over entirely and you just have the station entrances, but this is the way they chose. It might make for a more pleasant experience for passengers because there'll be some natural light coming in, which is definitely important for people's mental mood and all that. But also to get fresh air doesn't necessarily have to be pumped in with fans and ventilation. So from a comfort standpoint, it's probably nicer, but I can understand that, people around here that want to use the Byron Linear Park, that's a bit of a disadvantage. But most of the park's going to be restored to a similar way as to what it was before, hopefully. And now we continue on. You can see again the cut and cover tunnel being built here. There's a Sherbourne station. I think it was more somewhere just around in this shot here. It's a little bit up in the distance there. And then farther down, there's going to be New Orchard. Probably somewhere around the middle of this shot, approximately. Or maybe around here, somewhere. And then you can see, like the formwork that they're using to build the retaining walls for the tunnel. And now we skip ahead to Lincoln Field. So I'm going to just skip ahead a picture here. So up in the distance, just around here, you can see where the trains are going to come out. It's going to transition underneath Richmond Road, make like a nice sharp left turn to align itself with the new Lincoln Fields transfer station. And the trains will come back to, sort of to the surface. They're still going to be, once this is completed, below grade. But it's going to be, it's going to emerge from the tunnel. And it's going to arrive at the station. The station's going to have 3 platforms. So you can see there's one here, there's another one over here, and there's going to be a one on that side as well. So the far right platform behind that ramp there, that's going to be for the direction going downtown and east. In the middle, you see, 2 side platforms. Those are going to be for going west. So one of those is going to be dedicated for going to Moodie, and the other one's going to be for going to Algonquin Station. Now, I'm sure you've heard about this. You're going to have to transfer at the latest at this station if you wanted to continue to one or the other of those branches. And on weekends and low period points, they're going to be operating a shuttle service. So there'll be a shuttle train that'll go just from Lincoln Fields to Moodie, and the mainline train will continue from downtown, pass through here, and go to Algonquin as a direct. So obviously this is a very important station. 3 platforms. It's going to be very interesting to see how the trains switch in between, and how you're going to have different platforms and all that. It's going to be something really unique in the city. Really the only one that's going to have 3 platforms like this for the line to split and separate in the way that it will. That's how it's going to look when it's done. Again, it's going to be, the trains are going to be below grade. And just a general overview here, just picture Richmond Road and the approach coming from below the picture here, going up into the station. And then it's going to continue underneath Carling Avenue. So now you can see how they've worked on Carling Avenue to make little overpasses. That's not completely done yet. They still have to build a bit more to re-widen the road to its original configuration. But you can again see the station, how it's going to pass underneath, which is definitely relocated quite a bit more to the east from where the original transitway passed underneath Carling Avenue. So now looking more, south from Lincoln Fields, you can see the new pedestrian crossing that they built. That's going to replace the existing one which you see behind, because the alignment of the train is going to be different because of it splitting and flying over one set of tracks over another to make the connection to Moodie and the other connection to Algonquin. So there needs to be more space and a different alignment to allow that to happen. You can see the rail fly over in the distance there near the top. This existing pedestrian overpass behind the new one is going to be closing very shortly to be demolished to allow for the construction to continue for the guideway, the flyover, and the alignment for the O-train. Unfortunately, the new bridge is not going to be opening anytime soon. There's no timeline on that because there's some problems in the design with the approaches on one of the sides. So because of that, they can't finish the work just yet. They have to figure those things out, solve those issues, and continue on from there. So unfortunately, there'll be a bit of a detour in the very near future of, not being able to cross from one side to the other over that bridge. You're going to have to cross around, at least a 1 kilometer detour walk by Carling Avenue to get around and over to the high school or those areas beyond. Very unfortunate, but, that's what's going to be happening. So now here's another angle of this area. Again, you see even better the rail flyover. So you can see the transitway passing underneath. You can sort of picture that as being more or less the same alignment that the branch going to Algonquin and Iris stations will take. It'll pass underneath. The flyover will make it possible for the line to split and connect to go towards, Queensview, Pinecrest, Bayshore, and Moodie. So definitely lots of work happening around here. And now we move over to Iris. Obviously, there's a creek that passes through here, so they have to rework the area. There's going to be a new overpass, as you can see, being built there in the shot to allow for Iris to pass over the O-Train guideway that's going to be underneath. So the road obviously had to be detoured and snaked around this area to still be operational for the buses as well as for local traffic passing through here. So there's been a couple realignments around here and a little zigzagging, but that should clear up probably in the months and years to come as things advance more in this area. Again, you can see another angle of the Iris overpass, and you can see in the very background distance Queensway Station, which is going to be no longer used as far as transitway or rail or anything like that. The trains are just going to be passing underneath that highway overpass, but they're not going to be stopping there. Now we take a look at Algonquin Station, formerly known as Baseline. It's being renamed Algonquin. And this station's interesting because there's two main entrances. Obviously, the first one is the biggest one you can see in the picture right here. This one will connect to the bus platforms and pretty much be the main entrance. There'll be a pedestrian overpass that'll go from the upper level of this station, so it'll be 2 floors above ground, and it will cross over into the Algonquin ACCE building. And then from there, once you're in the second floor there, you'll be able to use the, still relatively new overpass from the college to cross into the rest of the campus. So, you'll be, the station is going to be underground. You'll be able to come up, cross over with an overpass, get into the station, and walk across there. Now, in the background, you can see a smaller little enclosure that's being built. Now, that's a second entrance. That one doesn't have covered connection into the college. So from now on, you would have to come out, walk, maybe 20, 30 feet outside to then walk back into the campus of Algonquin. So, depending on what you want to do, if you want a quicker route into there, you might take that one. If you want a weather protected route, then you might take the overpass from this bigger entrance. But there's 2 ways to get in and out, and that's how it's going to work. Now, if we go to the other branch, this is the one that goes towards Moodie. We're looking at Queensview Station. As you can see, it's just located right behind the loading dock area of Leon's. It's a furniture store. Walked in there once, never bought anything, but I've been inside. So all that to say that the station's going to be here. Side platforms, you can see the indentation of where the side platforms are going to be, how it widens out from the trench. Arriving from the flyover to here, in between, there's going to be a tunneled section. Again, it's going to go through Connaught Park. And again, that's going to be a cut and cover tunnel. Haven't really gotten too far along in that area yet, but that's probably going to be ramping up very soon. But it's going to, from Lincoln Fields, it's going to depart the station, pass underneath underneath the new pedestrian crossing, then rise up to fly over the other alignment for the O train, go back down, and then it's going to go underneath that park area, make a sharp right, just right at the extremities of the OC Transpo garage depot there, and then it's going to emerge around here, just near Leon's, to arrive at Queensview Station. There's also going to be a pedestrian overpass that's going to cross from the station over to the other side to Pasture Road, just next to the Ottawa Citizen Building. And from there, if Swedish furniture is your thing, you'll be able to go to IKEA, have some meatballs, hot dogs, the famous ice cream that they serve, and a pop, or the restaurant, or get some furniture. Hopefully getting furniture, not just going for the meatballs. But IKEA is going to be right there. Different way of getting to IKEA and different areas around here. So that's definitely good to see. Lots of good progress happening around here. And then we come towards Pinecrest. Now, a lot of work again around here. They had to make a lot of overpasses to allow for the train to pass underneath the highway on and off ramps, as well as Pinecrest and Greenbank and all that, that pass over the highway. So lots of work around here, still working on it. There's been some closures with the ramps, open and closed. Hopefully the worst of it is behind it at this point, because it's really advancing quite nicely around here. And you're going to see the station just behind that overpass for Pinecrest. See the opposite angle here, that's where the station's going to be. It's going to link up on top. And then, unfortunately, the city didn't show us any pictures of Bayshore. That section of the transitway between Pinecrest and Bayshore closed fairly recently, so we should see more advancement in the coming months, especially this summer. But after Bayshore, we get to Moodie. Station's going to be, again, underneath these ramps. Some work has happened already here to allow for these overpasses to be constructed to allow for the train and the guideway to pass underneath. The platforms are going to be side platforms here. This is going to be unique in the sense that, two side platforms, but they're not going to be aligned with each other. One platform is going to be a little, extend out a little more than the other one. It's going to be interesting to see how, but because it's in a curve and the location and the space and all that, I'm sure that's what prompted that kind of design to happen here. And then, as you can see in the distance, the Moodie LMSF, that's the Light Maintenance and Storage Facility being constructed. So there it is. It's fairly narrow, but it's very, very long. And there's all sorts of areas here, maintenance, light maintenance, so nothing major, like adjustments, inspections, cleaning, storage. That's mostly what's going to happen here. So this is the maintenance area. Some other buildings for it. And then that's the storage shed. So as you can see in the other shot here, it's in the distance up the top left there. Doesn't look that big in that shot, but then when you see it from the profile on the side, it's quite long and extensive. And they're going to be storing a lot of trains here. Not all the trains are going to be stored and operating out of Belfast, but that'll still remain the main maintenance facility, for heavier work. But they'll be able to offload some of the lighter work to this area. So that's pretty much it for the west. Now we're going to look at the south, going from Bayview all the way to Limebank in the airport. So I'll start off with Bayview Station. Again, Bayview Station opened back in 2019 with Stage 1. With Stage 2, we're seeing longer platforms at all of the existing Line 2 stations. They're going from 40 meters to 80 meters to accommodate the longer Stadler Flirt vehicles, as well as the existing Alstom-Coradia Lint trains. They're going to be coupled together. So there's going to be two trains operating coupled together to make them longer. So that's why the platforms need to be longer, to have that extra room and to serve that extra capacity that the bigger trains will allow for. So this station, obviously making the platforms double the length, and there's a second platform being built on the opposite side. You don't see it in this picture, but if you go on our website, otrain.railfans.ca/snapshot. Let's look at Bayview. We got some cool, aerial shots and ground level shots of the second platform that's being built there. It's not going to be used very frequently, but it's more of an emergency usage or for storing another train, or if additional capacity for some kind of event is needed, they can have the second platform there ready and available if they need to, or to stage a train, let's say. And then in the foreground here, you can see like a steel structure going up. That's for a new pedestrian overpass that's going to connect to the right of where we can see in the shot for the new Trinity development, where they're going to be building, 60-some story high rises, which will be the tallest in the Ottawa-Gatineau region. Hopefully, starting in the near future and not in the very distant future. But that's a connection that developer paid to have incorporated into the station, have a direct connection. So that's an entirely separate thing. But that's where it's going to connect into this metal structure here. Next shot is Corso Italia at Gladstone. This one, again, is a new station that's being built between Carling and Bayview. And it's going to be a double platform station, so platforms on both sides. And there's going to be a nice entrance plaza area. So that's that steel structure there is going to be a open plaza area for hopefully some animation, busking, and all that can happen out there, or maybe a little pop-up market or something. I don't know, but it's a nice area that's going to be built right in front of the station. Again, looking down towards Bayview, in the distance you can see the glass area in the far distance there. And just really all the work that's happening here. They're also revamping the Trillium pathway on the sides. Next up is Dow's Lake Station, which was formerly Carling, because Dow's Lake is right behind there. That's obviously why it was renamed, to be a little more significant with the location, because Carling, as you know, is very long. And this station, again, still a single platform station. They're adding redundant elevators, so there's going to be 2 elevators instead of 1, brand new. And the platform is being lengthened, so you can see in the bottom part of the shot here how it's being built out from where it used to end. Next up is the overpass, or the rail bridge going over the Rideau River, just south of Carleton University. What we see here on the sides, so up here and over here, is the abutments for a brand new pedestrian crossing. So you will be able to get from the Carleton campus over to Vincent Macy Park on the opposite side. I know there was a lot of safety concerns because, it did happen that people would try and cross the rail bridge to get to the other side, because it was a bit of a detour to have to walk around the other way. Very unsafe behavior and actions that people would take by doing that. But it obviously demonstrated that a proper link was necessary in between here. So hopefully that will prevent any of those kinds of railway incursions onto the guideway from ever happening again once that new crossing is in place. Now, again, we don't see the structure for that overpass or pedestrian crossing in this shot, but our community has noticed that the structural steel and the different components of that bridge are being assembled right now in one of the parking lots at Carleton University. So if you're familiar with the campus, I'm sure you've probably seen them working on that. They're staging that around just near this area of the campus, and that's going to be installed hopefully in the next couple months. So definitely something to look out for. That's definitely a big improvement to this area for people wanting to get across. And it's going to create new connectivity through this area. Next up, after you cross the Rideau River, is Mooney's Bay Station. Again, not the most exciting station before or after, but still an important location. Platform is being extended or doubled to 80 meters, as we discussed before. Work is progressing quite nicely. And after that, we see the Via Rail crossing. So the Via Rail track is that rail line that you see passing from left to right in the shot. And the Trillium line is now going to have its own flyover or overpass to allow it to pass over the Via Rail line. Before, they both crossed at grade. So that created some complexity because the O train had to coordinate with Via Rail, so that obviously you can't have two trains going at the same time. There'd be a collision. So obviously there was some scheduling issues there for both operators to get through that area. So now Trillium line is completely separated. It'll go directly over Via Rail, and Via Rail can pass underneath at the same time. No conflict, no scheduling. Makes for a more fluid operation. And it's going to be fun because it's another elevated section on the O train, so you get to look down and see what's going on. Next up, another new station, Walkley Station. This station right here, again, a single platform station. I know a lot of people are saying, well, why isn't this a double platform station like Corso Italia? Since the passing track is just north of here, why didn't you just make the station double platform, so you could lose the passing track just north of the station? That slows everything down, and it's also a bottleneck to increasing frequency. I don't know why they didn't do it, but missed opportunity. I'm just going to put it out there. It should have been a double platform station. It's more efficient to have trains stopping at two platforms at a station rather than having them just exit the station, go north a little bit to a passing track, to then have to slow down or completely stop as you wait for the other one to pass through to clear the track ahead. So missed opportunity here. Whether it was because they just didn't want to widen the or improve the Walkley overpass, or I just don't get it. I know a lot of people are really up there with why that wasn't done. That's definitely one of the low points of the South Extension, why that wasn't done. That could have had a bigger impact on improving service than one might be led to believe. But it's going to be a single platform nonetheless. You can see the entrance building there just behind the residence by Marriott Hotel, and it's shaping up to be quite nice. Station structure is going up very fast. And just beyond Walkley Station, but before Greenboro Station, is the new Walkley MSF, which is going to replace the legacy Walkley Yard. And as you can see here, the big facility where they're going to do maintenance on the Line 2 and Line 4 trains. And you can see inside, they showed us a nice shot inside where the hoists are going to be on the sides. They're being installed to allow for work to take place underneath the vehicles. And you can see a storage shed being built in the foreground here. And one of the Stadler Flirt vehicles just parked alongside the building. If you look farther in the distance, this right here is the old Walkley Yard. So, you had the 3 bays and the washing bay. That's where that is. It still connects to this one. Don't think there's going to be as much activity over there anymore now that they have this new expanded state-of-the-art facility over here. But just to give you an idea of how much closer this one is to the main line compared to the old former installation. Next up, you can see Greenboro Station. This used to be the south terminus, the existing pedestrian crossing to get in from the transitway. Had some upgrades to rehabilitate and refurbish it. Platforms are being extended. Again, a single platform station like it was before, but longer platforms. And over here, you can also see the connector tracks to get from Walkley Yard to the main line. Next up, South Quay Station. This one's important because it's going to enable transfers between Line 2 and Line 4 to go to the airport. There's going to be a little pocket storage track at this station. So it's going to be just to the right out here. You can't see it in this shot. The way it's going to work is obviously the priority is going to be given to Line 2 trains. Line 4 trains for the airport are going to come into the station, let out their passengers, proceed a little bit north to go into that pocket track that's going to be between the two mainline tracks. It'll wait there until the Line 2 trains come through South Keys Station. Once that train departs, then the Line 4 train is going to come back out, go to the South Keys platform to load, and then depart and run off to the airport. So definitely still two platform station, but the way it's going to operate is going to enable that shuttle connection to the airport. Progressing very nicely here. The station building is going to be behind. It's not going to be a fare paid zone. So you'll exit from the O train through gates, and you'll have to tap when you get onto a bus if you make a transfer here. Once again, some more work showing them installing the rail ties for Line 2. Next up is another station. I believe this is LRTM station, and they have some enclosure built around there to build the station structure. That's not the station itself, that big massive building or enclosure that they built. That's just to help allow them to work better in the colder months. Now that we're exiting the winter and we're coming into the hot summer months, they're obviously taking that down, and it's going to help enable them to complete the station as well. Two platform station on both sides. And I believe this is Bowesville. And again, another two platform station. Not much to say here. It's sort of a little bit out there. And finally, the last station at Limebank, which is going to be the terminus. It's going to be elevated. It looks a little interesting that the tail end of the track is sort of up in the air there, but it passes over Limebank Road, so that's why. Again, this whole area, there's not really much around here right now, but obviously the arrival of the train and a rapid connection downtown is probably going to spur growth and development around here in the years to come. So definitely it's going to be instrumental in seeing this area develop. Now, if we backtrack to South Keys to do Line 4, there's three stations, South Keys, Uplands, and the airport. This is Upland Station, just to the side of the EY Center, very popular convention space and event space. You can see the station in this shot right here, two platform station. This is where the trains will meet and pass each other on the short airport link of Line 4. And lastly, the airport station itself, elevated, beautiful glass enclosed structure. Most of it is being built by the airport authority itself, but the structure itself is nearing a good amount of completion that the Trillium Next team is going to take over and start integrating their rail signaling infrastructure, electrical, all that equipment necessary to allow for the operation of the trains through here in the near future. So it's going to be connecting right into the departures level of the airport terminal. And if you go into the airport terminal at the far end, just beyond the U.S. departures area, you can see where it's going to come into the airport terminal. It's going to be really something, to be able to come into the airport terminal in an enclosed, beautiful glass structure, or for people arriving in Ottawa to be able to go to many points across the city, just walk straight across, take the train to South Keys, and then take the Line 2 from there to Bayview, or transfer from there to one of east or west. So it's definitely very interesting to see. Lots of progress happening here. And this shot clearly taken from the airport parkade off to the side. So if you want to go and see the airport station, go park in the parkade at the far end. Look out from the side. You can really see a lot of what's happening. Or go walk on the departures ramp, or even in the airport terminal. You can see all sorts of angles here. It's really an impressive station to see. And lastly, a shot of one of the new Stadler Flirt vehicles. We're getting 7. At the time of the update, I believe they said 3 had already been delivered. The last 4 are going to be delivered in the coming months, and that's going to complete the new fleet. Beautiful trains. They have a diesel power pack in the middle, but the motors are electric. What's neat about these trains is that in the future, should the line ever be electrified, they can just remove that diesel power pack unit in the middle here, and they can put on a pantograph and make it be completely electric. So definitely future ready for if and when that time comes. But just beautiful, stunning trains. 8 doors on both sides, lots of seating, beautiful color scheme. Got some pictures on our website there if you look up the trains. Stadler Flirt, beautiful vehicle. Really looking forward to seeing what the ride is like and the experience is like on those, because that's really a very European train model, so it's going to be fun to see in Ottawa. So that concludes our little take on Stage 2 LRT in Ottawa from the April 2020 update, or 2022 update. So thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to check out on our website, otrain.railfans.ca, under the snapshot updates. Lots of pictures are coming in every week from the different stations, so you can see the progress up to date, what's going on, and how things are progressing. So thanks again for watching. Please be sure to subscribe. Click the bell icon at the bottom to be notified of new videos. Thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon. Stay safe, and see you out on the rails.